Welcome back to Satisfactory version 1, where we're getting almost to the end game, to the new content that came with version 1, because we're going to be ready very soon to finish phase 4, moving to phase 5 and tier 9. But before, if you haven't seen the last episode, a quick recap, we started to do plutonium refinement, but we realized that we were not making enough of some of the resources. To be precise, actually not enough of quite a few things, like radio control units, and that was mainly because of computers, as well as also not enough of aluminum casings, right, from aluminum ingots, and also from potentially, silica. And then we also weren't making exactly enough of the fuse modular frame. So this is what we're going to change. Starting with the silica and quartz crystal, I have built over here a fully endgame factory. What do I mean by endgame? That means, it can really take advantage of a Mark III miner, and it's even modular and ready for Mark VI belts. Where is this? This is towards the new place, right? I mentioned that we hadn't built anything there, so it was a good time to go and build something here. So that's what we're doing. There is 2 of these raw quartz there. We also have access actually to limestone very close and to water. Now, the title of the episode is not, clickbait. I did make a huge mistake. I'll show you just now. It's basically I didn't select the right recipe. But don't worry, this is still super efficient, and this is actually, you could argue it is the best, but I'm going to explain why maybe it was a mistake indeed. So let's go inside. You'll see there is a nice waterfall there, and if we go inside, you will see where all of the quartz is coming from. It's quite a lot here, and also some on this side. So of course, get ready, to kill some enemies before you come here. But yeah, we have 2 nodes, and we're gonna put Mark III on it. But these are pure nodes, so they actually produce 1,200 per minute when fully overclocked. This is where the Mark VI belt will come into play. We don't have access to Mark VI yet, right? We only have access to Mark V into our logistic right now. We will get access to Mark VI in tier 9. This will cost, by the way, quite a lot of resource. So what I've done is I have minimized the time where I will need a Mark VI. Instead of sending basically a Mark VI all the way to my different factories, as soon as you come out of the miners, I have a split so that only this part here should be a Mark VI, and then having Mark V everywhere else will be fine. Similarly on this side, even smaller, I just need to upgrade this to Mark VI in the future and we'll be fine. But yeah, basically we're going to send some quartz this side and a lot of quartz that side. The quartz that will go this side, we do silica. The quartz this side, we do quartz crystal. So let me show you a bit how that works. We have 2 belts Mark V. They will basically do twice the same thing. You can see over here, right? This is being split, and we have the same on this side, split, to go into assemblers. Because yes, we're not going to use the basic recipe. We're using assemblers that we're going to use this alternate cheap silica, where you take raw quartz and limestone to make silica. Why am I using this alternate recipe? I think it's pretty clear when you look at the 2 recipes next to each other, is we have the raw quartz 22.5, will make 37.5 in a constructor. With this alternate one, you take the same amount of raw quartz, 22.5, but instead of making 37.5, you're gonna make 52.5, so a lot more. At the cost, of course, of a bit of limestone, but there's so much limestone on the world that I think this is a no-brainer. You definitely want to go for that one, in my opinion. Now, having said that, we do need indeed to be careful about the production. So this is what you can see over here. I've been trying to look at, especially with my Mark V belt, which is limited to 780, what is the block? I mean, basically, a key block is this. 14 assemblers will take 315 raw quartz, 525 limestone, so again, Mark V belt, no problem over here, and we'll make 735 of silica. If I were to put 15, it would be more than 780. So that is sort of a very efficient basic block. And if you do 2 of them, right, you have more, then you could do even more. And basically, what is this third one? This third one is what is left in terms of limestone. Because I only have 1 limestone node anywhere close. So 1,200 basically, right? I could do 2 of this block of 14 plus a block of 4. This will also, by the way, get me fine on raw quartz. This is only 720 of raw quartz. So then I could do even more if I wanted with the constructor basic recipe. But that's not very efficient, right? Because we know again that this recipe here is a lot better. So instead, what I've decided to do is we do those 2 blocks here, and that's going to use, most of our limestone, and this is going to use basically half of our raw quartz. This is going to make almost 1,500 of silica, so that's already pretty good. And then we're going to use the rest of the raw quartz, we're going to send it into the quartz crystal. And this is why, again, you saw there was part of the raw crystal that was going somewhere else. So yeah, that's what's happening over here. You can see this is 7 on each side, so 14. We have the raw quartz coming from up. We have the limestone coming from down. Let me show you quickly. There it is. So the miner is actually over here. It is, of course, overclock again to 1200 with only this part here that needs to be upgraded to Mark 6 and then split into 2, where we have, the way it's working right now is this is a smart splitter. We are saying first go this side, and if you're full, you can go this side. So what's happening is that right now we're getting 525 on this side. This is what's needed if you wish. And then we're only getting 225 on that side because our belt Mark 5 here is limited to 780. But as soon as I upgrade this to Mark 6, then the parenthesis number will start working, right? We will basically get 525, the maximum of what we need. So this one is working 100%, but you will see that this one here is actually not working 100% right now. It will work at 100% when we get the Mark 6. But yeah, this is all working. Then it merged, on this side, right? And with this one, and then I'll show you what's happening here in a second. First, let's look above. So this was the quartz coming, right? That goes down. And then we have also the other quartz that goes up. Now on this one, I actually have only 6 of them that are on, and all of these ones here are off. To put them on, it's going to be very simple. I will just need to do this, and then they will all turn on. Look at this. They all turn on now. But I didn't put them on because remember, again, until I get Mark 6, basically these ones wouldn't be working. So it's better for me to have all of these working at 100% rather than having, more of them not working. And we have, the merger here, and it goes down, and it goes down to here. So again, this is the same concept where the first one at the bottom is working 100%, so 735. This one is not, so we're only producing 315 right now. But when we get to Mark 6, it will go to its full production potential of 735. The only thing I will have to do, again, is to connect, this assembler here, those two together, and obviously upgrade to Mark 6 at the miner. Then we have, the classic smart splitter, so that first we send into these drone ports, but if it's full, you can go into those or something. That way, this is always working and giving me some points. But yeah, we have over here, 2 drone ports, and again, I'm showing, the numbers. This one is 735. This one right now only 315. We have the 2 drone ports that are supplied in terms of fuel by a turbo fuel, same factory as before. Right over here, we made that turbo fuel factory here long time ago. So we're sending, a drone. It comes here, it delivers, and then this is sent to those 2 drone ports and also to these ones here. These ones are for the quartz crystal. So let me show you for the quartz crystal what we're doing. And also then, again, we're going to discuss why, while this is all very efficient and a great endgame factory, it may not have been the perfect one. I may have made a big mistake. So if we, again, go back here quickly so you can see the numbers, we have then a smart splitter here, a smart splitter there, so that we can prioritize. We know that here we're getting 600. We know that here we're only getting 180. And here we're only getting 333 right now. But when we upgrade, those 2 here, like this one here and that one there to Mark 6, we will get 600, 600, and 540. They all go here on Mark 5 belts to be ready for the end, right? They go here and they will go up. But before I show you up, what is that? This is the same, building, the resource well pressurizer that we have used for nitrogen gas, but it is actually making water. There is, across the map, multiple deposits like this, not just nitrogen gas. Some of them are water, some of them are crude oil. There was also, some water here in the back that you may have seen. So you could also potentially use this, but I felt it was, this water there, but I felt it was a good showcase of this water. We're actually not using all of it, and even this is not actually working 100%. We can't see it there. I thought we could. Maybe on the deposits. Here it is. yeah, you can see 19%. So it's not working at 100% at all. This is also because we're still on Mark 5 and not Mark 6. But anyway, we have those pipes. Basically, the idea is here we're making 600, 600, 600, and it's ready to be sent up into the actual factory here. So 600 for each of them, and each of the pipe is going to be linked to one line of refineries. There is 1 line, 2 line, 3 lines. The first line of refinery is the one that's working on 100% with 600 of quartz, right? The other two are not working on 100% right now. They will only work at 100% when we get to Mark 6. We're using again an alternate recipe, the alternate pure quartz crystal. And this one, I'm going to show you in a second, but basically it's raw quartz plus water to make the quartz crystal. Instead of using a constructor where you take 37.5 per minute to make only 22.5 per minute, you will use more, you will use 67.5 and some water to also make more, way more, 52.5. So basically we can bring it to, one raw quartz is making how much quartz crystal? In the basic recipe, one raw quartz is making 0.6 quartz crystal. In the advanced recipe, it's making 0.77. So it's actually not that hugely better, to be honest, but it is better. And we're endgame, so we want to be efficient. So we're definitely using this one, especially given that water is sort of unlimited and I have unlimited electricity almost at this point. So yeah, we're going to use this one. And again, we try to look a bit at, if we look at how much raw quartz we have, how much quartz we're going to produce, etc., what is an efficient production? I looked at this one here, is if you say you're going to produce 1,200 raw quartz, this is obviously too big for a Mark 5 belt, so let's divide it by 2. This gets us to 600. This is 8.9 or 8.888 to be precise, refineries to use 600 raw quartz, 333.33 of water, and that's going to make almost 500 of quartz crystal. So this is, one of the miner, you can have 2 lines of this. And then we know we were only using 630 of raw quartz from the other miner, right? So we still have 570 left. So then I made another block, this time only of 8 refineries. That's going to use basically all of that quartz, a bit more water, and make a bit more than 400 of quartz crystal. So going back again, this is where you can see we have 8.88, then also 8.88, and here we only have 8. And that's the last one, the surplus of the other miner. We have, as I said before, 1 pipe of water for each, because we need a bit more than 300 for each of them. So having a Mark 2 is totally fine, making 600. And then at level 3, we have a quartz. And on the outside, we have the quartz crystal being merged, right? So we're going to follow it for a second to arrive here, and you'll see 1, 2, and the third. So what are the numbers? This one is making 467, working 100%. This one will make the same amount, 467, once we get to Mark 6. Right now it's only making 140. And this one is making 259 right now. And when we go to Mark 6, it will make 420. So then what I've done is I've basically split this one here in the middle into 2, so that we get, sort of as much as possible into 2 belts instead of 3 belts, not really, saturated. So we're going to make 700 here at the maximum and 654 on that one. And then it goes, as always, smart splitter with 2 awesome sink, but more importantly, 2 drone sports, right, that are ready to send with the same turbo fuel, ready to send somewhere this quartz. Because yes, we're going to use all of this quartz, we're going to use most of the silica for the next few factories that you can see in the list. We are going to use them, for example, for crystal oscillators, for AI case, aluminum casing, and much more. But before we talk about those other factories, why is this not maybe the best way? Well, if, again, we go into here and we say quartz, crystal, for example, right, these are definitely, the 2 recipes I have. There are actually some other recipes we haven't discovered yet, and they were not in the early access. This is something new of version 1, and this is a bit why I missed it, to be honest. I didn't realize there was a new one. So let's go to the official Satisfactory wiki and check that out. Now, we have the raw quartz here, that's fine. What's more interested in is over here. How can you make quartz crystal? Well, we have this basic recipe, we know it. We have this pure quartz crystal recipe. This is the one we're using right now, pretty efficient. There is this one here, which is going to use coal. Now, if you have tons of coal for a reason, maybe you want to look at it, but honestly, not so great. I mean, you can even see the numbers, right? 75 here is more than 67, and you're barely making more. So this one, not so great. But the important one is this last one here. because this last one is going to make both quartz crystal and dissolve silica. So look at this. We're going to use raw quartz and nitric acid to make this quartz crystal, and it's pretty slot, right? Like 120, you're going to make 75. It's a pretty good ratio. If we compare it to our two others, right, 120 to make 75, it is 0.62 quartz crystal for one raw crystal. So it is better than the basic one, not as good as, you know, the one we're using. So this is also why I'm saying this is maybe not the huge mistake, but it is a mistake regardless, because we're not finished. We're not finished. We're not just making quartz crystal. We are also making dissolved silica. So let's look at this dissolved silica. I'm making 60 of it, by the way. With this dissolved silica, you're going to be able to then craft something. You're going to be taking this dissolved silica, limestone, and water to make silica, and also, by the way, to make some water, so you can feed it back and not use as much water. But again, water is basically unlimited, so I don't care. What I do care about is this dissolved silica, right? So we're gonna make 120, out of 120, we're gonna make 270 silica. That's quite a lot. So let's go back to our Excel. So we are indeed taking 100 raw quartz to make 75 of quartz crystal, but with this, we're also making 60 dissolved silica. And we know that 120 dissolved silica is going to make 270 of silica. So basically, you know, the 60 that we have here, if you wish, is going to make 135 of silica, right? So we're taking 120 of raw quartz, making 75 quartz crystal, but also 135 of silica. So yes, the conversion of raw quartz to quartz crystal is maybe not as good as the recipe we selected, but with this one, you are better than the basic one, and you're making tons of silica on top of it. So let's do a bit of a thought experiment where we're going to say we want to make 75 quartz crystal and we want to make 135 of silica. But with this new recipe of the dissolved silica, we know this just takes 120 raw quartz, all right? So that's it. Versus for my current recipe, we are going to need 92.4 over here of raw quartz to make the quartz crystal. And then we're going to need 57.8 of raw quartz with that recipe there, right? And a bit of limestone too, but we also need limestone here to make this 135 of silica. So in total, we're going to need 154. This is obviously more than the 120. So again, this is why this is a mistake. If you're thinking of making tons of both quartz crystal and silica, you should actually go for this new recipe. This will enable you to make a lot more at the end. It does come with a few challenges. The first one being that you don't actually exactly decide how much quartz crystal and silica you're going to get. It's more like you're going to get a bit of both at a certain ratio, at basically the ratio of 75 to 135. So let's assume you want a lot more quartz crystal. My way is potentially better, but if you want more silica, this way is definitely better. Then the second, challenge is obviously you need those two alternate recipes. You also need even more complex productions, right? Because you're going to need blenders. You're going to need to feed back this water or do something with this water, which is not always easy. And you're going to need to make nitric acid, which requires nitrogen gas, right? And also iron plates. So you're going to need to do that. But to be honest, there is nitrogen gas not that far from what I've built over here. So again, I think I made a mistake. I think we could have done it even better, but this is already pretty efficient. I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. It's really well organized. And in particular, I'm really happy that as soon as we get the Mark 6 belt, we'll be able to just upgrade a very, very few small points and the whole factory will work at 100%. Don't hesitate to tell me in the comments below if you have any questions, thoughts, right? But yeah, this is my first endgame factory, like really endgame factory for silica and quartz crystal. As you can imagine, we're going to use some of these to make new recipes. In particular, we're going to make quartz crystal with the raw quartz. We're also going to make a lot of aluminum casing with all of this silica. But I think that we'll have to wait for the next episode because this is already a long one. I do plan to post it very soon because this factory is actually already ready. This is going to be over here. And this is a very interesting one, by the way, because I'm making tons of these crystal oscillators just with iron. We're not going to use pretty much anything else. We're using a lot of iron, as you can see, but this is super efficient and this is producing tons of those crystal oscillators. So subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I hope to see you next time.